Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of what is essentially Battlefield Earth. We are watching what is happening in the war between Russia and Ukraine. We are watching what is happening in the war between Israel and Hamas. And we are also watching the demonstrations that are taking place around the world. The United Kingdom, Europe, the United States. Now, what's interesting to me is as the world burns, as it continues to get worse, the mainstream media seems to be more infatuated with what is happening between the relationship in terms of pop culture, popular culture, with the musician Taylor Swift, if that's what you would like to call her, and the football player of the Kansas City Chiefs, Kelsey. Who cares? And quite honestly, I'm being very honestly right now. I do not know one song that Taylor Swift sings. Not one. Zero. Zilch. But it's bizarre that relationship and reporting on that relationship tends to be more important than what is happening around the world. The war in Ukraine, the war that's taking place between Israel and Hamas. I want to go over to the United Kingdom next. And this is coming out of the mainstream media here in the United States. And I think this is very important to deconstruct and look at what is happening in terms of the way the media reports news. So this is from PBS here in the United States. I'm going to read this to you. So, far-right counter-protesters clash with London police at pro-Palestinian march. The first word, far-right counter-protesters. Far-right counter-protesters. You see how they manipulate words. Not just counter-protesters, far-right protesters. Antifa, other far left-wing organizations are not designated far left-wing extremist organizations. Any organization that is center or even mildly right of center is classified as a far-right extremist organization or protesters. I'm going to read this to you. London AP, pro-Palestinian demonstrators. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators marched peacefully through central London on Saturday. Even as right-wing counter-protesters clashed with police. After a week of angry debate over whether to permit the event on a day when Britain honored its war dead. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators marched peacefully through central London, even as right-wing counter-protesters clashed with police. Now look, we know that these pro-Palestinian demonstrations are not peaceful. And this media organization, both the AP and PBS, lie. They lie, and they false report. Very interesting. How the narrative is controlled, how news is changed and then regurgitated to spin a certain narrative. far-right protesters clash with peaceful Palestinian protesters. Right. Sure. All right, back to what is happening on the ground in Ukraine. We're going to cruise over to the Avdiivka area of operations. We're pulling up both the GFSS map, and then we'll get over to the deep state as well, where you, the viewer, can see kind of what is happening on the ground as the fighting continues. As you can see here, this map, the Rondelli Foundation and the Deep State have finally updated some of their mapping to show that the Russians have crossed and consolidated control over the main railway line going into Avdiivka, and fighting is now taking place both on the northern and eastern edges of the coke plant located northwest of the town of Avdiivka. Furthermore, Russian operations continue in the south as well, with, again, the noose tightening around the town of Avdiivka. It's going to become tougher and tougher for the Ukrainians to hold on, especially as it becomes more difficult for the Ukrainian forces to supply its forces in Avdiivka. Now, the United States has announced some casualty estimates. We have seen very few casualty estimates being reported by the Ukrainian state. Obviously, if the Ukrainians are not reporting casualties, that means, generally speaking, you are seeing serious casualties. And the Ukrainians don't want to destroy the morale of Ukraine reporting on these casualty estimates. But I think it's worth trying to understand the casualties, and that takes reporting on the casualties. But we're not seeing that. But the United States believes that the Ukrainian military, as we speak, has suffered approximately 70,000 battlefield killed in action. An additional 120,000 Ukrainian troops have been wounded in action over the course of the conflict. Now, is that a low number? Is that an accurate number? Difficult to say at this point. The fighting in some of these areas is so intense, with the use of just massive amounts of heavy artillery. It is very difficult to ascertain casualty levels or accurate casualty levels. Many times, from what we're hearing, there's nothing that remains of individuals that come under the attack of some of these very, very heavy munitions that are being utilized in this conflict. Completely destroyed. And it would take DNA evidence to identify possible bodies in some cases. Some cases that you won't even be able to do that. And that kind of goes to show you the amounts of Ukrainian soldiers that are missing. There is a large segment of Ukrainian forces that are tallied as missing. They could be taken prisoner. They could be have fled the battlefield and smuggled out of the country. They could be just buried under rubble. Again, very difficult to ascertain actual casualty levels, and probably we won't know true casualty levels until years after the conflict ends. The Russians are continuing offensive operations near Bakhmut as well. We are continuing to see the Russians counterattack to the south. We continue to see Russian forces attacking in the direction of Kupiansk as well. The Russian offensive operation is picking up steam as we head into the winter months. We also expect, as do the Ukrainians expect, that the Russians will start to launch large-scale missile attacks against Ukrainian targets deep inside and well behind the line of contact. So we'll continue to watch that very, very closely. But again, most eyes continue to be on what is happening near Avdiivka. The noose is tightening. We do believe that Avdiivka will eventually fall. When that will happen, difficult to say. But again, this is a very tough situation for Ukrainian forces right now in terms of what they are facing. So we will continue to watch. We will continue to report. Thank you for joining us today. More to come very, very soon. As always, have a good day.